I hope to tell a story of the Cherokee. It's not the story, but it tells of another trail with another purpose. This isn't going to be an academic work. I'm relying on the body of study by others who devoted decades of research into what I'll share in a series of videos. The real credit of all of this belongs to those academics and to the people who this story is about. There's so many people to credit that I'll get lost if I try to name them all, so I'll attempt to include their names in the description of these videos. And for those that I miss, I'm truly sorry. It's hard to know where to begin. This is such a huge undertaking. When I first decided to do this trail as my theme for 2023, I met a young lady at the Little House on the Prairie Museum near my home in Independence, Kansas. I don't even know her name. But I told her that I was hiking trails less traveled, and she told me about one which I was totally unaware. It's this trail that's the topic of this year's hiking adventures. It's a trail that was written about in a novel by the famous Western author Louis L'Amour. It's the Cherokee Trail. As I began researching the Cherokee Trail, I quickly discovered Jack and Pat Fletcher. They now live in Washington. They've given much of their lives to document the Cherokee Trail. Their hope is to have this trail designated as a National Historic Trail, and it should be. I intend to rely on their work and the efforts of the Friends of the Cherokee Trail here in Kansas. I've been blessed to meet and get to know Bob and Linda Anderson. They've given me so much material, maps, photos, and introduced me to so many knowledgeable people who are rooted in this land, and I'm deeply grateful to them. I've been able to talk with Mike Thompson in El Dorado, who lives in a historic crossroads of so many of these events, including the Walnut River crossing of the Cherokee Trail. He's a wealth of knowledge. His own heritage gives credibility to his voice, and I hope to go back and record a few of his stories. And then there's Kyle Good, who lives in an old wayside house built in 1850, and it lies along the Cherokee Trail. The trail's largely identifiable by swales carved into the landscape by the traffic of wagons, mules, and ponies carrying the migrants westward in hope of prosperity and better lives. Brian Stuckey uses his skills of dowsing to aid in identifying the boundaries and the direction of these old routes. But one thing I find in common with each of these people, besides their knowledge of history of this place, is their profound devotion to the preservation of the piece of trail where they call home. They are more stewards than owners. They take their place in the historical record of this piece of fabric that weaves our heritage into its beautiful tapestry of Americana. Now, throughout the 19th century, trails opened routes westward. The nation was expanding, at least the nation of the latest migrants who had made North America their home. And there were others, less fortunate, much less fortunate, who were pushed aside during this westward migration. Clans and nations with names like Osage, Ottawa, Shawnee, Comanche, Apache, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and many others, including the Cherokee. The Cherokee had lived for centuries in Georgia, the Carolinas, and my home of Alabama, long before my family settled in many of the same places. I remember studying Alabama history as a young boy. Alabama had been home to 4 major native tribes. The Creek lived in the southern Alabama. In the center was home to the Choctaw and the Chickasaw. And the huge Cherokee Nation swept westward from the Carolinas through Georgia and Tennessee and into North Alabama. It was America's first gold rush of 1829 that brought the valuable mineral to the attention of the whites. It eventually ushered in the Treaty of 1835, which led to the forced removal of the Cherokee and other southeastern nations into the Indian Territory that's now called Oklahoma. About 12,000 people from the Cherokee Nation had been forced to relocate. Elijah Hicks led his group on their 4-month journey to Oklahoma from September of 1838 to January of 1839. He wrote, "Our race have retreated 1,000 miles from their stately mountains, leaving their noble rivers behind and hastening, as it were, with the sun until we have come here. And trust here we shall finally stand to perform the grand work of our national education." And they immediately put about establishing schools and courts, courthouses, newspapers, businesses, professional vocations, and farming. The Trail of Tears had occurred from 1838 to 1839. But this is 1849. Something very different is happening. There's new excitement, new enticement, a new reason for exploring. It wasn't simply the need for new homes. There was the prospect of wealth. Gold was reported to be found in California. Lots of gold. It isn't surprising that the reports of gold in the West was alluring to the Cherokee. They had a heritage of gold mining, smithing, and crafting when they lived in the Southeast. The Fort Smith Herald wrote in June of 1849, "There are a great many Cherokee who came from Georgia that understand gold mining as well as many of the whites." So this is where I'll pick up the reins. Not as an academic work, but more of a work of creative nonfiction. I want to bring you the sights and the scenes from the trail. I'll be leveraging off of the work from the Fletchers and from all of the friends of the Cherokee Trail here in Kansas. What I hope to do is to look at this 142 miles of this trail that goes from the Kansas-Oklahoma border up to the Santa Fe Trail northwest of 𝙃𝙚𝙡𝙡. I look forward to bringing you along with me. I look forward to showing you all of the beautiful views from this prairie, this home that I call Kansas.